I know how Five Nights at Freddy's Secret of the Mimic will end. Five Nights at Freddy's Secret of the Mimic is the new installment to the next Five Nights at Freddy's game and explains the origins to Fazbear Entertainment. When the PS5 gameplay trailer for Five Nights at Freddy's Secret of the Mimic dropped on February 12th, 2025, a lot of people were very confused, not only with the environment we were surrounding ourselves with, but also who we play as a protagonist in this game. The trailer also reveals the antagonist of this game, which is the Mimic, who is dressing up as mascot costumes and primarily as Jackie. But how does the Mimic end up in Five Nights at Freddy's Security Breach Ruin? Do we truly play as Edwin Murray, or as Henry Emily, or even William Afton? And how does this tie into Fazbear Entertainment's past? But first we need to step into some of the Tales from the Plex books in order to understand all of these questions. This game heavily draws from the Tales from the Plex books number 6, Nexi, in the third story, The Mimic. In the book, Edwin Murray is a single father who also owns a company that makes practical inventions. Edwin, however, is unable to take care of his son David while also managing the company at the same time. This led to his business going under, and he sold his company to Fazbear Entertainment, who then put Edwin to work on their mascot costumes and animatronics. During this time, Edwin built the Mimic to keep his son company while he worked on these other animatronics for Fazbear Entertainment. The Mimic was programmed using an AI called Mimic 1, where the robot learned how to observe and copy David, playing games, forming sign language, and mimicking his daily routines. He was David's best friend for life. A key detail in the story is that David also held a white tiger plush, and the Mimic mimicked David holding that white tiger plush even if it wasn't there in his hand. One day, David chases after his ball into the road and dies after being struck by a vehicle. The Mimic comes back without David and continues to mimic the actions of David, asking for ice cream and holding his arm out just like how David held the white tiger plush in his arm. This infuriates Edwin. Devastated by the loss of his son, Edwin takes his grief out on the Mimic, physically beating it, unknowingly teaching it violence. However, the Mimic survives, its code forever altered with aggression. Edwin mysteriously disappears, and Fazbear Entertainment sends in a team to retrieve the Mimic endoskeleton. And when that team didn't come back, they sent another team in with the same result. While this is the story from the book's point of view, the game's point of view is fairly similar. The book talks about the factory being an abandoned lace factory, whereas in the game, it is held in Murray's Costume Manor, where many mascot suits are being produced. We also know that the appliances that Edwin is making are canon to the game, as they are in the Secret of the Mimic Tapes MCM archive that are being posted on Steelwool Studios' YouTube channel. One is about a coffee maker that watches and learns. The next is a coat rack that is able to adjust to any size or shape and fit any clothing. The third shows a vacuum cleaner that can fit into any space and be a lifelong friend to your children. The final teaser is of a toy called the Mycelium Men, which are 4 mushroom toys that can listen and mimic audio. I believe that the Mimic is watching each of these tapes and will be mimicking each of these behaviors of Edwin's inventions in the game. The best part about all of this? You can pet the vacuum in the game. To quickly recap, Edwin is a robotics engineer. He made some characters for Fazbear Entertainment, but when he lost his son, he beat up the Mimic and left, leaving the Mimic. This explains why we are here, and that is because Fazbear wants to sacrifice employees to get an endoskeleton that they don't even want to go get themselves. So, how does this game end? We know that Mixes from Five Nights at Freddy's Security Breach Ruin is going to play a crucial role in stopping the Mimic. We know in the J-Top interview, when John FNAF interviewed J-Top from Steelwool Studios, that this machine was deliberately an older machine.
It looks a lot like the
Whopper.
The Whopper machine from the 1983 movie War Games.
Yeah.
Was this intentional? And how often when creating your games do you reference back to like movies from your past?
There's always good reference in other movies and television,
Right.
or images of the time periods that you're looking at. That is deliberately supposed to be an older machine.
And in the Help Wanted 2 DLC, we know that the Mix's machine was put into the back of the van and taken to what I'm presuming is Murray's Costume Manor. We also know that in Security Breach and Ruin, the Mimic has spread its AI through the entire Pizzaplex. And from Daco's charity stream, we were given a new picture of a character called Mr. Helpful, the earliest version of Helpy in the timeline. In Security Breach and Ruin, the Mimic uses Helpy as a way to communicate with Cassie or Gregory, clearly showing how the virus has been spread throughout the Pizzaplex. But what gets even crazier is in Help Wanted 2, when you are playing the repair minigame and repairing Helpy, on the hardest difficulty, you have to replace a chip in his brain. This chip is the chip that is presumed to be the Mimic virus in the minigame, and when you look behind you, you can see a picture of a Fazbear Entertainment facility burning to the ground, and Helpy is escaping. I believe that in this game, we will be using a data diver, which was previously shown off on the Steel Wool and Daco interview for Secret of the Mimic, where we, as the protagonist, will try to destroy the Mimic programming. We may fail, and Mr. Helpful might be able to crawl away to another location with the Mimic virus in it, allowing it to continue to spread through all Fazbear locations in the future. However, I do believe there will be a huge fire that will destroy Murray's Costume Manor, which is not only hinted at in 5... which is not only hinted at in Five Nights at Freddy's 3, Five Nights at Freddy's 6, and Security Breach, but also in the MCM archive tape, Murray's Magic Coat Rack. And there is no denying that the Data Diver is just the predecessor for the Faz Wrench in future FNAF games. Now, for who we play as, I believe we are one of Fazbear Entertainment's teams that is sent in to retrieve the Mimic. We know in the Secret of the Mimic trailer, at 53 seconds in, we can see an arm coming out of an elephant costume. This is most likely a previous employee or a previous team that Fazbear sent in to the facility. We also know that in Murray's Magic Coat Rack, there are screams and people asking for help if you listen to the audio just carefully.
Of your house, the solution is here and more for you.
On the topic of seeing Helper in his earliest version, I'd also like to express that in the trailer, we also see posters for Fredbear's Family Diner with both Fredbear and Spring Bonnie on them, leading me to believe that we will also see the original Fredbear's Family Diner animatronics. This is also why Murray's Costume Manor houses both Fazbear characters and non-Fazbear characters in the later games. To even further back this up, John FNAF got a box from Steel Wool Studios regarding Secret of the Mimic, where he opened the box and found a Spring Bonnie bobblehead that somehow ties Fazbear Entertainment and William Afton into Murray's Costume Manor. In regards to how the Mimic got to the Pizzaplex, we need to look at the books so we can see how it parallels with the games. In the epilogues of the Tales from the Pizzaplex books, we learn how the Mimic was shipped to the Pizzaplex, and underneath the Pizzaplex is Freddy Fazbear's Pizza Place, which is the FNAF 6 pizzeria and heavily theorized to be Fredbear's Family Diner. After an employee turns on the Mimic, it begins killing some of the employees, and one escapes, sealing concrete behind as he runs away. Later, a group of teens goes to the destroyed Freddy Fazbear's Pizza Place and climbs an event. However, they are fortunately locked in by the Mimic, and each one dies off except for one, who is able to trap the Mimic in a Springlock Jester costume, where it leaks oil and is presumably dead. But years later, it is found by Cassie when she comes back to the mall, and the events of Security Breach ruin under the raceway under Freddy Fazbear's Pizza Place. Now, I know this is a lot of information, but I just answered all three of the questions at the beginning of this video. Why we're at this location, what the location really is, and who we play as. However, take this with a grain of salt, because these are my predictions for Five Nights at Freddy's Secret of the Mimic. This has been Trojans for Life, and welcome to my TED Talk.